Hello and welcome to Speedcubing 101. Yes, I am the skibbity cube mom who has not published in 3 months. Working on Speedcubing 101 is on my to-do list, but it is continually being bumped down. So I apologize for this, and I wish to sincerely say thank you for your patience. This is episode 15, and I think this episode will be enjoyable for you to listen whether you are a new cuber, a parent of a cuber, an old-timer cuber. Today's guest is Matthew Mayernik. He created HappyFt Productions, and now a branch of that is Speedcubing.tv. If you've watched some live streams online, you may have noticed HappyFt Productions or Speedcubing TV featured. Today you're going to hear the origin story of HappyFt Productions. You're also going to hear his origin story as a cuber. Today we'll also hear from Jesus Lindo Garcia, who is a delegate in Spain, coming to us with the help of delegate Ben Royce, who's been on the podcast before. You'll also hear from delegate Gabe McBee. And we have exciting 3x3 cube news as well. Before I play my interview with Matthew Mayernik, I gotta say, we had tons of tech issues. I was on the wrong mic setting. He had a mic that was dropping off. The recording quality wasn't anywhere near where I'd like it to be. But there's a phrase that was shared with me a long time ago, and that is done is better than perfect. And so this is done, and it's not perfect. I'm just really happy that you get to hear it. And oh yes, you get to hear why HappyFt is named HappyFt. Here's Matthew Mayernik with HappyFt Productions and Speedcubing TV.
Hello, it's great to be on here, Joanne. I appreciate it. I love what you're doing, trying to educate parents and just all new Speedcubers into what Speedcubing is.
Okay, so I have some questions for you, but I actually want to find out first, why the name HappyFt?
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, it's my Xbox gamer tag. So I was HappyFt Gremlin and stuff, and HappyFt Gremlin Productions doesn't sound that good. So it's just like, you just got to go with HappyFt Productions, I always felt like. That's why it's abbreviated to FT, because that's how it was in my gamer tag too on Xbox. Yeah.
So why did you choose it as your gamer name?
That's the next question. Yeah, so I mean, this is something where like most people don't really know about me. So I don't have autism, but in a lot of kids who do have autism, they do this thing called stimming, where in order to cope with certain emotions, you'll like flop your arms or like bite yourself or like bounce your head. And I'm one of the people who actually has that, but don't have autism. So it's like a rare subset of people who have that. And I was talking to my doctor about it. And it's like, whenever I have adrenaline, I'll just start jumping up and down and flapping my arms. And, you think you grow out of it up to this point in like this day and age, like, by the time I'm 20 years old, like most kids grow out of it. But even till this day, I still catch myself like, jumping up and down and flapping my arms when I'm like watching like NFL football or, doing other things. So that's kind of like how I got like HappyFt, where like, just get excited about things. So, kind of pairs well with like when I was in Xbox as a kid, I would be jumping up and down a ton when I was playing video games because there'd be so much adrenaline in it. So usually when I was playing video games, it would be like, HappyFt's like attached to that in a lot of ways. So and it was just something that kind of like went by, I guess, at that point, like where my Xbox gamer tag was HappyFt Gremlin. So a lot of my friends knew my like persona as a little bit as HappyFt Gremlin. And then I moved, since it's like a natural transition to Twitch. So I live streamed at Twitch for some time. It was HappyFt Gremlin on Twitch. So, I had to simplify that down to like my live stream production company. So I just kind of switched from HappyFt Gremlin as the gamer tag on my Twitch account to just HappyFt Productions. So it's a lot more simpler of a name from that whole gamer tag itself.
All right. So what do I call you?
You can just call me Matthew or Matt.
All right. Yeah. Okay, Matt. So obviously this is the Speedcubing 101 podcast. How did you get into cubing?
Yeah, so my best friend Owen actually has a WCID. You can look him up. It's Owen Colleen. He basically got into Rubik's Cube solving, and I thought it was like a cool thing. He was doing it back in like 7th grade, I remember. And a sleepover with him in 8th grade, he just taught me a 2x2. And I honestly didn't really want to do it at first, but I kind of did it because I was a good friend and wanted to support him. And then I realized like I actually got a PLL skip on my first time learning it. So I did like a soon and then PLL skip. So I like learned how to solve, like I solved my first cube just by just knowing OLL. And then from that point on, like I obviously learned how to do a PLL, like the A perm to finish a 2x2. And I was just like, from that point on, I was like kind of hooked on like, all right, if I can practice this, I can beat my friend Owen in 2x2. So I got like, it did a bunch of like practice solves just on 2x2 to get faster. And I ended up like getting a 4 second solve because I did like this awful first layer probably, and then just like last layer skipped, and it was a faster time than he had. Um, and then like he ended up teaching me like 3x3 with like just he just taught me like I never used like a YouTube tutorial or anything. He just taught me side by side. And just with 2x2 knowledge, like once you already kind of know how to solve a 2x2, I mean you already know like half the algorithms you need to know, and then all the intuitive thinking to do like the first two layers you kind of have down pat. So it was really simple for me to just transition from 2x2 doing it with 3x3. So that's kind of how I got like into cubing and started cubing. And then in terms of getting faster, it was just like my friend Owen was like he knew F12 and stuff, and he was probably like a 25 second solver. And by the time I caught up to him, we both were like at like he was at 19 seconds, I was at 21 seconds. And then I ended up we would go into a competition together where I got like a 23 second average and he got like a 19 second average. And then later that summer, I went to one by myself with my dad, and ended up just beating his like time. And I kind of like sent him into retirement after that. And I like was
student overtakes the
master
teacher.
Yeah, that's basically what happened. But I ended up getting to come back to a competition. It was actually the first competition I live streamed in like 2022. We had like this little we had this little pact with each other where it was like, if I could get in, so so we had like this our friend group. We were like very competitive with math for the most part. Like we all were super big math nerds back in high school, and I had like this pact with him. If he could get a into University of Chicago, then which is one of the top math schools in the country, that if he could do that, then he would have to go to a Rubik's Cube competition with me. So I ended up like it's kind of a weird thing because it's like if we did something good, like I ended up having one where like we had another one where it's like we got an 8 if I got an 800 on my SAT score for math, I had to run 2 miles with him, which somehow like luckily happened, and it ended up getting me into college because my English score is just awful. Yeah, thank you. But it ended up being like I had to run 2 miles with him. So we had like these weird like pacts that we'd make with each other. So anyway, he ended up getting University of Chicago off of a video that I like. The theory is he didn't get into University of Chicago initially. He had a year at Williams College, and then he ended up going to transfer to U Chicago to try to get into their math program. And in order to do that, he had to create a submission video about like something unique to him. So I was like, dude, you got to do cubing. Like, you got to do cubing. So I ended up editing him together a video for cubing that he like filmed, and it ended up he ended up getting into University of Chicago, and I think they cited that video as like part of the thing. So it's like, dude, now you got to go back to a cubing competition. You got to like live up to it. So it was like part of the pact. So he ended up going to a cubing competition with me again, which was like fun, and it ended up being like in weird turn events. That was like the first competition I streamed. So he actually was like, I put him to work at it too. So yeah, it's great. But it goes like a lot of things like cubing brings a lot of new opportunities out for people. So like I know a lot of stories of even me at my college interview, I brought up cubing, and like my friend Owen, he like obviously it was one of the main things that got him into University of Chicago. It set him apart. So for a lot of parents out there, it's definitely something that really can set you apart in like the college process. That I've heard a lot of stories of people who get into college. Like one of the reasons why is because that's what's unique about them.
That's a lot of effort to get somebody to go to a competition. Just an invitation isn't enough, I guess.
Like when he taught me also like F2L and like CFOP because he was already at that point of cubing. And he didn't go to a competition until like we both were like looking at something like, oh wait, there's competitions for this. Like we can go to one. So we're both from Michigan. So there was like one in Ann Arbor at the time. They were doing like a ton of Ann Arbor competitions, like 4 or 5 a year. And so that was like an hour away for us. So I was like, hey, do you want to go to this? So my dad drove me and Owen like down to like this Ann Arbor competition. And yeah, so that's like how I got started. And then after that, like I was like pretty hooked onto it. Um, and Owen was not so much. So I kind of started just going to some by myself. So I went to like Toledo, Ohio for another one.
Who got you there?
And that one was
Dad again?
my dad. No, my dad got me to every single one of these competitions. My dad, like all the way up until I could, like I think technically last year or 2 years ago, because I now can drive myself to competitions. But the thing is, like, my dad was with me every single one, which is kind of funny because, like, also another thing with my dad and I, we always went to Jimmy John's for lunch at every single one of the competitions. That was like our tradition too. Um, yeah, it is funny because a lot of the times we're like, um, my dad and I, like, we go on so many ridiculous trips together over like, and a lot of it is because of cubing too. But it's like when I was like 12 years old, 13 years old, my mom would be like, "Oh, you should do this for father son bonding." And now my mom's like, "You gotta like pull us away from each other because my dad and I do so much." Because we'll go on like so many ridiculous cubing trips where it's like, we try to find the sketchiest like diner in like a local town like on the way. We're just like, we gotta find this like the greasiest spoon. They call it greasy spoons. They call it. It's like some mom and pop shop, and it's like, you gotta find like the sketchiest one where it's like, you don't like, it's just like folding tables and stuff. So we'll try to do those kind of things, and because there's so many different places on like the way to cubing competitions, so many different things.
This is interesting.
So a lot of great memories. My dad, he's taking me around. Yeah, and like, we would like, so all the way up until like, yeah, I'd say my dad still goes to all the ones we live stream too. He helps out a lot with all that stuff. So he's still going to like basically almost all of them. But like for the local ones now, I'll just drive myself. Like, especially now that I'm in college, like I'll go from college, I'll drive to like an hour and a half away to like the nearest competitions like for the night, and then go back and stuff. So yeah, but no, my dad was definitely with me throughout all of those, and through like me kind of going all the way up in like three by like in terms of like improving and like 3x3 and like 2x2 and all those things. He's seen me like miss out on the podium by like one place like before, and like miss out into going next round multiple times. It's always been so funny, like just like it'd be funny, like he takes a picture in like the family group chat of like the screenshot, like classic Matthew moment. It's just like one place away. It's just like just awesome. But yeah, so I think my mom's been to one competition and my dad's been to like 20 something. So it's definitely fun.
Wow. Okay, that's wow. A really good bond. I think your mom was right. This is going to be bonding for you and your dad.
Well, and on top of that too, like during that time, my dad and I, like, we started going on camping trips together too. Like my whole family's not even campers, so like on a side quest to that, like we also like go camping with each other, and like yeah. So and now it's like we're just going to like streaming stuff together. So it's just funny, like or streaming competitions together now. So it like just keeps on carrying on, just fun. But yeah, no, it's definitely a lot of things. And even when I've heard keeping parents too a lot of times say, like, even like the top level solvers, like I was talking to a dad of one of the top level solvers, and he was saying that he enjoys like the 6 hour drives with his son. He's like, it forces like time to talk, especially when teenagers don't really want to like talk to their parents and stuff, which is kind of funny. Yeah, you're trapped in a car ride because it's like, who else is going to take you to these competitions when you're like a teenager and stuff if you can't drive yourself. So certainly certainly a huge moment. I like, it's probably all travel sports have that kind of opportunity a lot of times. My family's not a travel sports family, so I don't really know too much about that, but I guess cubing was my travel sport, so kind of similar.
You started cubing with Owen. You found out about competitions, started going. He bailed on competitions.
Yep.
You kept going. You ended up having all these special memories with your dad at sketchy restaurants and stuff. How did this helping with cubing and the live streaming come into the picture? Or when did that, and how did that?
In my 9th grade year of high school, so it was actually like I went to like 1 or 2 cubing competitions. In that first semester, or the second semester of 9th grade year, when I went to my first cubing competition, I took my first media production class. So my high school partners with a local public access TV station to offer like a program basically where kids can learn like studio stuff, where you can learn how to like create a show, how to film stuff on cameras. And then if you complete that first class that I did my ninth grade year, you could go on to another class where you would actually record real shows for people on like the public
Oh,
access
yeah.
TV station. So they'll have like the community members when they go and create their own show, you can help record those. And they also allowed it. They had like this thing where if you film the live sporting events, so if you run the live stream for like the football games or the basketball games or the volleyball games, you would end up um, getting that hour off in school. And it was a 6 hour a day. So by the time I was like 11th grader, I could literally in 10th grade year, my older sister was like a senior. It so happened that my older sister, because she was dual enrolling in college at the time, and she also had a 6 hour off. That if I basically just went to these football games and live streamed them, I could have my 6 hour off too, and I'd get home from school like an hour early. So that's how I really got into it. So like my 10th grade year, I started doing like the live streaming of all these sports, and I was like, dude, like this is like this is like what I really like love doing. Like I was doing it for basically just like
Right.
taking
This is my
time
ticket
off
out
from school, and I was like fulfilling my credits. Yes, yeah, no, this is great. So just like I love doing this way more than schoolwork, and I get to live stream all these games. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and that's how I learned how to do instant replay too, which is like what I do now at my college. So like I'm the instant replay operator at my college too for sports broadcasting, and that's like one of my like favorite things to do. But I was thinking like when I was there, I'm like, man, I kind of want to do this for Rubik's cube solving. Like one day, like these cubing competitions, they could totally have
and
these
had
live
there
streams.
been many at that point?
And yeah, so I mean, like at that point, from what I could tell, it was just like major championships being live streamed. So I'd see um, like I remember, uh, I don't think at that point I remember really like there was some like 2018 U.S. Nationals. I remember being live streamed and watching that. Um, and I think it was great for what like what was going on at the time and stuff, like all the live streams and things. Like it was pretty like we were like it's like completely
Oh,
different
yeah.
age, like almost from cubing back in 2018 versus even now. Like the cubing community's almost like doubled and everything. So there was that. And I um my film teacher at the time, who was the teacher at the um during like in the film classes and like with the TV station, what he told me in like 10th grade was what you should do instead of you don't film just the film, you should combine like filming with whatever you're good at in like life. So, if me just being like a good Rubik's Cube solver, what I should do is I should really combine that with with filming. So yeah, so for the most part I was just like, okay, shoot. So I kind of had that in my head where it's like I could probably like I have like this basic knowledge of filming from all these classes and stuff. If I combine that with Rubik's Cube solving, like that's kind of like a cool way to like do what I've learned and stuff. And I already enjoy doing all this stuff with my like high school sports. Like it'd be awesome if I could do this for Rubik's cubes solving stuff too. So yeah, and it wasn't like so I did some live streaming on Twitch like during COVID time. I would set up live streams where I'd race against like my viewers, and I'd have like 5 to 10 viewers and stuff. But we would all like race against each other online while I was like live streaming, and that was a lot of fun. And I went through like all my first year of college too, just doing instant replay and working for the sports broadcasting department on campus. And it wasn't until like there was like commencement is like when people were graduating, they had the sports broadcasting department film that because they just like they needed it live streamed. So they were just like, hey, can we get some students to do it? And my sister was already graduating, so I was just like, yeah, I can definitely stay like after school ends, and I'll have to be there anyway, so I might as well just get paid to like sit through this like hour long of like hours long of graduation and stuff. So and me and like another student were like cameramen for it, and I was doing like the camera operation, and the assistant basketball coach came up, and he's just like, hey, are you guys the sports broadcasting department? I was like, yeah. And he's like, tell whoever does instant replay they do an awesome job because I use that for like all the game film and stuff.
Yes.
For everything and I was just like, well, that's actually me. And he's like, dude, you do an awesome job. Like, what do you want to do when you're older? And I was like, well, I mean, I'm here for my math degree. Like, I'm good at math. I'm probably gonna like do something in like the math field. And he's like, well, do you want to do anything in like broadcasting? And I was like, well, I haven't really thought about that as like a viable like career option. He's like, dude, you should try it. And like like, do you want to do it for ESPN and stuff? Like, what else are we gonna do for it? I'm like, well, I've always thought about doing it for like Rubik's Cube, but you know, it's not something like I've really taken any action on. And he's like, dude, you should do it now. Like, this is the time to do it. Like, you should just do it. So then like a week later, I like emailed Blake Thompson, who was like my local delegate at the time, and was like, I've done like all this stuff with my high school. I've done it for a year with my college, basic equipment. Like, how would I go about live streaming this kind of stuff? And Blake got back to me and was like, connected me with a guy named John Epley in the Michigan area. He's like awesome when it comes to like trying new things. Like, he just bringing like parents coffee and stuff, and like getting coffee sponsors, bringing photographers out to competitions, having like, you know, like a t-shirt press guy at competitions. Like, he runs his competitions. It's like so much fun. So he had so much value to competitions and like tries to experiment with new things. And
what's his name?
John Epley. So John Epley was like, he's like, dude, I totally want you to like come and stream these competitions. He's like, I hired like this outside production company to like try to stream one of my competitions. And, you know, like, he didn't really know what he was doing because he doesn't understand like how Rubik's Cube solving works at all. So it's like, I'd love to have you just,
it's not like follow the ball or the
right. It's a lot more complicated. So he's like, if you think you just want to show up and like do this, like, go ahead, like go do it. So I already, like, before that like commencement and like before all that stuff, I already, like, my friend Owen, like, we were planning on going to this competition together and everything. So then, like, I was like, hey, Owen, like, I just got off the phone with this guy named John. Like, you know, we're going to have to live stream this thing now. And he's like, what? Like, I'm not coming out of retirement for like 4 years. And now all of a sudden, I'm a commentator on your live stream. So if you look back, it's called Blue Water Bridge Open. It's like still on John Epley's
no,
account.
send me the link. I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, it's let me see if I can find it. It's hilarious. This is the first competition I ever streamed. It was Blue Water Bridge Open, and all the competitions live streaming. But anyway, the audio for that competition is like awful too. Like, we had two like of these microphones. It's actually, I think one of them was this one here. But we had two of them like next to each other, and like we didn't realize that like they would echo if they were like next to each other and stuff until like we realized like 8 hours in. So it's just like, it was pretty jank. But like, that's the thing, is like, your first product's never going to be the best. And like, I always like appreciate John for taking a chance on some like 18-year-old from like, you know, college student for like just doing this at the, like, on a cubing competition and stuff. But yeah, so it was like, it was wild. But that's how like the live streaming kind of started. So anyway, afterwards, like, the organizers, John and like Seth, who's also organizing that competition, were like, dude, this is awesome. Like, we want this. We're gonna do Great Lakes Championships the end of this summer. Do you want to like stream that one also? And we'll give you like a small budget for it. And I was just like, shoot, yeah, totally, I'll do that. So then from there, it's like, all right, we gotta like start researching stuff and like all these different things. This is all before like HappyFt's even formed or anything. Like, there's no LLC,
Okay.
There's nothing, like, there's no company. It's just like me messing around with like, you know, my camera equipment. I like get this budget. I'm able to like get a couple microphones, and, you know, like, all right, so like, we're not gonna go back to like echoey mic again. We're gonna make this like sound well. I end up doing research on like graphic software and like find one that's decent, and then my dad's able to like program a Google spreadsheet into the graphics software to make it so, because my original plan is like, oh, we can just type in times to like these graphics and we can show their times listed. My dad's like, all right, well, you can do that, or you can type it into a spreadsheet and it can automatically calculate like the WPA,
Oh,
EPA,
yeah.
and like average. So then we're just like, I was like, all right, that's like, if you know how to do that, like, go ahead and do it. And I'll just go create the graphic and I'll plug in all that data after. So I end up like, we end up having those graphics for like Great Lakes Championships 2022 and stuff. And that was like a lot of fun. So that's where we had like the live tracker got its debut with like the head to head, where it's like you can see the worst possible average, best possible average go against each other. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. And then it just like continued on until until like the fall. So at that point, that's when like my own personal YouTube channel, like Great Lakes Championships, was kind of like, I feel like the start of like my cubing, I guess, professional career in a way, where it's like, I just kind of did Great Lakes Championships. The stream was like better than just like, you know, half put together and stuff. Like, I was like, all right, I have to take this a lot more seriously and like put something together. And then I hit like 1,000 subscribers on my Matthew Mayernik channel at that point too. So my commentary videos were kind of taken off. So that's when I was like, dude, like, this is kind of awesome. And then like, we continue like into like November, and that's when like my school was offering a small business seminar for like a week. And I was just like, I was already up to that point thinking like, I kind of want to do US nationals. Like that would be like really fun. I think I can do it better if like, you know, if I'm given a chance than it has been in previous years. So I want to see if I can do that. Because even up to that point, like 2019 Worlds was considered like the best, I think, live stream at the time for a cubing competition.
Was that Paris?
And like,
no,
that was Australia.
Australia.
So, and that one was like, they had like these PTZ cameras and stuff, but it was run by like, I think a bunch of non-cubers, like an outside production company. So they didn't really know what cubing was about. So they kind of had like this 4 split screen where it had like, you know, 2 stations and like each camera. And it was like a bit confusing to follow. And I remember being up until like, when I was like in 10th grade or something at that point, like being up until like 3 a.m. trying to watch like 3x3 finals, just being like, man, I feel like I could do this better like, if I was given it a chance. Obviously, I didn't like, at the point like, at that time, I definitely could not have done it better, and I'm like barely like, you know, able to like match their quality, I think, up to this day. But the thing is, it's like I kind of like had this like ignorance of like how hard it was to do some live streaming stuff at the time. But that's where I was like, all right, so US nationals, like I kind of want to do that, but I think in order to like actually like say like, hey, can I like stream US nationals and try to put in like, oh, here's like a proposal for to do it, like I need to form a company. So I formed like in 2022, like that like Thanksgiving break, my like dad and I were like on the Michigan government website, like trying to figure out how to form an LLC. So then I like formed an LLC.
So the small business week didn't get
that,
you
that was after,
to the finish line with
that was
that?
after that. So I saw that around the same time, and then like I basically like did it as like HappyFt broadcasting, like should that be it? And my dad's like, look, I don't know, I feel like it's missing something. Like I feel like broadcasting's like too specific. Like maybe if you want to do like other media stuff. And I'm like,
it's also an old word,
yeah,
isn't it?
It is a bit old. Like, you don't really broadcast stuff, you kind of live stream it nowadays. So I was like, all right, HappyFt, like, you know, production. So then we like put that into like the company thing, and I had to pay like this $50 fee to get it registered by the state of Michigan, but then like became like this official LLC. And then after that, like I like decided to sign up for the small business seminar, and I spent like 7 days like learning how like small businesses operate and stuff. And it was like after like the finals of my first semester sophomore year, and I took it with like a friend at Hillsdale College where I go, and it was like for like a week basically, where it was like 8 hours each day of just like, one day was just marketing, one day was just finance, like all these different things, and then you had to present like after, and like once you got back, so you went to Christmas break after that, and then after you came back from Christmas break, you had to present like your whole business plan of what a business you want to do. So I presented HappyFt Productions, and I ended up winning a scholarship off of that presentation too. So another thing how cubing's kind of impacted my life.
Wow.
So I became like the entrepreneur scholar of Hillsdale College for like that year. So super grateful to the Swartzak Foundation for that. But after that, so I went through like the whole business seminar, and I was like, all right, let me put in a proposal now for US nationals. And later at the time, like now knowing like I think what like just some of my insider information is like, people saw the original proposal and was like, no, we're like, this is like some random guy, like this doesn't, like we're not going to go with like somebody we don't know.
So you didn't know anyone who was,
I didn't know anybody who was doing US
organize.
No. I had some people in like Michigan that I knew, so I knew like John Epley and stuff, but he wasn't even part of like anything on the organizational team for US nationals. James Hildreth, who I didn't know this at the time, I don't think, but he's historically been like a part of the Cubing USA team, and he does a lot of Michigan competitions. So he's delegated a lot of competitions in Michigan. So I knew like I knew him, and like I've talked to him a couple of times up to that point, but like didn't really know him like as much of a level as I know him now. So I sent a proposal, and they were like, I think,
okay, did you put your WCA ID in this proposal anywhere?
I just said, I think Matthew Mayernik, and that was it. I didn't put my WCA ID. I was just like, this is HappyFt Productions, like this outside production company. I think I knew that he, oh no, because I think it was on their, it was like a submission form on their like website. So I think it went like directly to it.
Yeah.
But no, I was basically just like, hey, I'd like the live stream, like US nationals and all this stuff. And I didn't get like any response back until like, I think like February. And that's when like somebody reached out to me, was like, hey, we can have like a Zoom meeting on this. And I from what I heard, it was the people that usually did U.S. nationals were like they did NAC the previous year in 2022, and they had like a lot of issues, and they were like, this is just so much of a headache. We don't want to do this. So they're like, we don't have anybody to like stream U.S. nationals this year. This is like later when I learned what happened. They're like, I don't know who this guy is, like some random guy from Michigan saying like Happy like FT Productions. Like I don't know who this guy is. But later they're like, all right, well I guess
we need
someone. We need someone. It's like our only option. So another like couple months went by and it's like April time, and the competition's like in July, so like it's coming up close, and they're just like, oh yeah, like yeah, we're gonna accept your proposal and stuff, and yeah, we'll go forward with HappyFt. So then I kind of like, was like, shoot. And then John Eppley was like, all right, well, we got Michigan championships coming up. If you want to do like a practice run for that.
Yeah. Yeah. A test run.
So I did. Yeah. So I did a test run at Michigan championships, and that's when we were able to run instant replay for the first time. So that was a lot of fun because that's something that I really wanted, because as an instant replay operator myself, I've always wanted to do instant replay. So I ended up, we were able to run that for the first time, and it like worked out like decently well. And we're like, dude, we can do this at US Nationals. And then we did it at US Nationals, and like, that was like not part of like any part of the contract or anything. So it was really great being able to like, just as like a business over being able to overperform the contract and stuff. And I think it shocked like a lot of cubing, and like really like changed the game for like how cubing is like spectated, like at US Nationals and stuff. Like being able to have it, like it was on the Jumbotron and stuff, and being able to see like 3x3 finals, you get instant replays with like the live data coming in. Because for at this point, it's like basically just local Michigan competitions where all this stuff is happening. But then like to have it in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania with the live stream, it's like, whole new level of that. And I think at that point, then it was like, I started getting more people like reach out to me, be like, hey, can you do like my competition here? Can you do my competition there? So that's where like the Great Lakes Championship. I did like, then I like then around the North American Championships, I had Cube Camp reach out to me. So yeah, that's kind of like where the ball started like really rolling, was after like US Nationals.
Wow. I'm just sorry. I'm just amazed that you were able to get that all off the ground, and then it just like, it took a while to get the momentum going, and then it's like then people were coming to you, right? And
yeah, a little bit, yeah. And it's and even to this, like it's the ball is still rolling. I think like something that's really cool is like you have people like Cubers Live and stuff. Like they were also doing some live streaming too, and it's cool seeing things like over time, because not everything gets like normalized overnight. Where it's like a lot of people even like freak out about overhead cameras like originally too, and it's like sometimes it's hard seeing like, because I put effort into like trying to get like overhead cameras working and things like that, and just like it's like a new thing in cubing, and like some people are like, oh, is this like is it going to ruin scramble secrecy and things like that, and over time it becomes like more and more normalized and stuff. So it's kind of like cool to like kind of push boundaries in cubing and kind of see like like the effect of that. Now it's like almost every competition live stream I see, it's like whether around the world they have top down cameras, so it's really cool to just like see how once one person starts doing it, like everyone else
it becomes the standard.
So, and I think it's like a really cool, it becomes a standard. It's like a really cool viewing experience too, and it's like something where like I remember sitting in like 2019 like in my bed at 3 a.m. being like, dude, why don't they just have like overhead cameras of like these kids solving, and then like being able to do it like 4 years later and stuff was cool. So it's definitely one of those things where it's like kind of be the change you want to be to some extent, where it's like I just kind of knew I wanted to like change cubing broadcasts, and it's like a lot of times people just don't do things just because they're worried about like public opinion and public outcry on it, and like that, like it happens and stuff, but like over time, like it usually like people will come to like a good conclusion on things, or like a standard will be set, and like you just keep moving forward on things. So yeah, it's definitely really cool, because even like things in competitions weren't standard before, where it's like runners and like judges. It used to be where the you would judge, run, and scramble like all one person's cube. So, and then it wasn't until like later in WCA competitions where those roles got separated out and they got developed over time. So like cubing competitions are like constantly getting innovated, and like different ways how we can provide like more value and stuff in the sport. So if like anybody's got like ideas out there, I just like encourage them to like go and actually just like try it, because you don't know what'll actually stick in the end, and you can see what happens, and like you might be able to change cubing and like how it's like presented and stuff. So Yeah.
You know what's funny? You're the most technical person I've had to talk to so far, and we've had the most issues by far.
My microphone disconnected, and let me try this. All right, I think this should be good now.
Wow. So, Matt, it sounds like you have broken some ground in the cubing world with the streaming and the overhead cameras and everything, and even the data, right? Even having that, this, Max or whoever needs this much to get to win. From your view, what would you love to see more of in the WCA, or what are your hopes or wishes for the WCA?
Yeah, I think for the WCA, like one of the things I've always historically wanted more and more of is obviously just more major championships. I think for like at least for like more NA All Stars type competitions, I like remember Timon in NA All Stars, he got like a 3.92, and it was like in the Mall of America, there was like 4 rows of people going like all around, like just complete non-cubers passing by the mall, all watching it. But like the crowd was just massive for like what a cubing competition should be. The jumbotron happened, and I remember like I was doing like the replay of it, and like you're doing so much work for this. You're on like 5 hours of sleep, and like it's just over the course of like multiple years, and this is like really what I wanted cubing to be. Like this is like the thing. Like I started like crying a bit like when I was doing the instant replay for like T-Mon's 3.92, and it's just like, dude, this is exactly what I wanted it to be, is like this. Like we're in like a place of the Mall of America. Like we see like crowds of people.
It's not 4 rows, right? It's like 4 levels, 4 mall levels, not 4 rows. Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. 4 mall levels going up. And then also there's like rows of like 20 chairs too, like in front of them too. So it's like so many people are watching this. Like, it's like exhilarating, like, just the emotions of like Timon getting like a 3.92 in 3x3 finals in such a high pressure environment. I mean, there's like a roller coaster going by, like in this like Nickelodeon land right by the Mall of America, and like for it to like happen with like the instant replay, and for it to happen like just in my head, like in the way it should be done, and it's like it was just like really good. I just like was so happy to see like all that happen, and like yeah, and that's like honestly where I want to see happen more in just cubing in general. The thing is like if whether it's within the WCA or outside the WCA, I think what the WCA has really done well is being able to get a lot of local competitions going. And I think something that we take for granted a lot is the fact that we have such a great like such a low barrier to entry to go to competitions when it comes to just like the local level, and the WCA does that really well. So I think the WCA can do like some kind of sub brand of like themselves as like, hey, here's like a major league for this where we do all-star like events, because I also think that provides value in getting kids into cubing. Like I think I've heard stories of people who watch the Mall of America live stream and have gone into cubing, like they're friends of like cubers and stuff. So I think that also grows cubing in a great way, and then we have to have that way to get people like into solving cubes in the first place. So I think that's something we take for granted a lot. Is like I'm part of the ultimate frisbee community a bit too. I play in my college team, and I listen to podcasts all the time about how ultimate frisbee grows and everything like that, because it's kind of like 2 niche sports where ultimate frisbee is like ahead of cubing in terms of growing and everything. And something that the ultimate frisbee does really well is their professional level is put on really well, but it's really hard for kids to get into the sport, and they're spending now like a ton of resources just trying to do youth camps and like youth leagues and everything to try to get it going. Whereas right now, like, I mean, you can have like a 5-year-old just show up to a competition and start solving, and they can start going instantly. So we really have like it's super easy to get kids involved into it, whereas like other sports are challenged with that. And I think that's like to the credit of the WCA being able to have all those things. So, I think outside the WCA though, it's like it would be cool, because even as me, like if I want to like raise my kids one day, it'd be awesome to have like an after school program or have like some kind of, cubing camp or something like that I can send my kids to. I think that the Max Park Cube Camp and stuff like that, and the Felix, they've done a great job trying to do that. I know I have a friend who goes to Hillsdale with me, who is he lives in China, and he goes to school. Obviously, he just like is kind of like like he's just a foreign student who goes to Hillsdale, and he talks about how in China there's like a cube school for like in every like town. Basically, it's like just basically like a karate dojo in the United States. And I think that'd be really cool to see in the United States to just like kind of supplement that, like, youth getting into it. Because it'd be kind of cool to like be able to send, like my kid one day to like just kind of the local like karate dojo, but it's for cubing type thing. And I think that also fosters more community around it. I think a lot of kids have nice formative times and be able to get more in depth into a community where they see like once a week for cubing practice or something like that. I think seeing that in the US would be cool. They're already doing it in China and stuff, and I think we can learn a lot from that. And I don't know how that necessarily fits in the WCA, but I think just cubing community is larger as a whole, and that sort of thing. So cubers, and then just like keeping that grassroots going of like having kids being able to go into it and maybe having more supplemental after school programs and like kind of karate dojo like places for them.
Thank you, Matt, for your time and for all your patience. Since this episode is publishing many months after we did the recording, there are links to where to connect with Matt, HappyFt Productions, and Speedcubing TP in the show notes of this episode. It's interesting because part of the news that I am going to have in the Cube News section, I discovered when I was looking up all of Matthew's links to make sure I got them correct for the show notes. So he's also a good source of Cube News. Now let's travel over to Spain and hear from Delegate Jesus Lindo Garcia with the help of Delegate Ben Royce, sharing what he loves about being a delegate.
Hi, what is your name?
Hi, Ben. I'm Jesus Lindo Garcia.
And Jesus, how long have you been competing?
I started to compete in 2013, so almost 12 years ago.
Mm-hmm. And how long have you been a delegate?
I'm delegate for 3 years, I think. Yes,
3 years.
3
okay.
years.
And what do you like most about being a delegate?
The thing I like most about being a delegate is that I feel useful giving something to the community. I work for every competition in my region, in Madrid. Yes, it's a really good feeling. It's also hard because I'm really tired after every competition in Madrid, but I like what I'm doing and I see the faces of the people that are enjoying the competition, and that's really nice for me.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
And if you are a delegate or even an organizer, you could probably relate to him saying that he's really tired after every competition. Thank you, Jesus, for your dedication to the competitions in Spain and really to everyone who helps make the competitions happen around the world. We now have a tip on preparing for your first competition with Delegate Gabe McBee, who's based out of the Pacific Northwest in the United States.
My name is Gabe McBee, and I've been cubing for about 10 years now. And I just recently became a delegate a couple of months ago. And I would say when you start going to competitions, just try to have fun and not put too much pressure on yourself. And that's what I discovered once I started going to competitions, was that everyone's just there to have a good time and meet new people and share knowledge about, solving or different kinds of puzzles you can try out and that kind of thing. And I'd say that's my biggest takeaway from competing, is that the community and having fun and not, worrying too much about stressing is the best part and the most important thing to focus on. Yeah.
Thank you, Gabe. And that tip is helpful for me as I'm going to be competing in Pura and 3x3. And I want to try to remember to have fun and not stress or put too much pressure on myself. I'm not sure if the high probability I'm going to come in last is fun, but I remind myself I've got to start somewhere. And the more I compete, the more comfortable I'm going to be at competing.
It's time to catch up on your Cube News.
So for today's Cube News segment, since I haven't published since January, I must share that in February, Yihang Wang set a new 3x3 single world record of 3.08 seconds. That is incredible. I told Jason Chan, who will be on a future episode of Speedcubing 101, it hasn't been recorded yet. So let's expect that one in 2026 or even 2027. Who knows with my pace. But he's a teacher in British Columbia, Canada, and he teaches at a middle school on Vancouver Island. And I shared him this news. Jason told me when he got the message, he went straight to YouTube to look up the video. And then he looked up the scramble, and he has a scramble of the week every week with his class. So that week in February, he used the same scramble that Yihang Wang got for that 3.08 3x3 single world record. That was February. Here we are in April. I mentioned earlier that I was looking up Matthew Mayernik's social media handles and everything to put in the show notes. And that is where I discovered that as of this recording, there is a new 3x3 single world record. It is now 3.05 seconds by Zhuangyi Gang. Congratulations to Zhuangyi. That is amazing. Thank you to Matt, Jesus, Ben, and Gabe for joining me on episode 15 of Speedcubing 101 today. If you have any questions, suggestions, or corrections, feel free to email me at cubemomofficial@gmail.com. You can also follow me on Instagram, where I will be posting whenever I publish a new episode. And that's again, cubemomofficial. Please leave a rating for Speedcubing 101 on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. The episodes are also now on YouTube, so feel free to like and subscribe. Thank you for listening today. Happy cubing, and go cubers go.